Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 12th of October. It's game day, and what a game we have in store later on at Ibrox. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined, as ever, by Joshua Barry. He'll be heading along for us later on. How are we getting on, Joshua?
Looking forward to it, Derek. Was there yesterday for all the press conferences, and I think, obviously lots of different things impact a momentum for a game. Liverpool have had a couple of bad results in the league. Rangers had a couple of good results in the league. Liverpool a few injuries. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite an expectant crowd tonight. So I'm excited for that. As big a challenge as it will be for Rangers, despite all those circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Ibrox is going to be absolutely rocking. Before we talk about the game, folks, as you can see the little ticker below, we've still got that tremendous offer on the website. Just £1 for 2 months worth of coverage. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe, and it's in the title of this video. Also, loads of great content on there this morning. Josh has done a piece on the big debate, the big talk around town is Antonio Cholak or Alfredo Morelos. Who should start this evening? I'm sure we'll touch on that. I think we both agree that the Croatian deserves to get the nod. We've got our predicted lineups on there as well, folks. How we think, or how we would, if we were in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's shoes, what team we would pick to take on Liverpool. And yeah, there's loads of stuff on there. All the reaction from those press conferences yesterday, Joshua, you were there for us in the Thornton suite for a change.
I wore a blazer. I dressed up. I dressed smart in the Thornton suite. It was good to be up there. The best one was Lundstrom there. If you haven't watched the Lundstrom press conference on the YouTube channel, you can read the transcript on the website. I would encourage you to do so, because if you're not up for the game already tonight, you certainly will be. You remember before Union and Lundstrom did that press conference, and he was almost gritting his teeth throughout it. So he's so eager to get out to that game. And it was similar to that, I think, and he used a phrase about showing Liverpool no respect, and spoke about Ibrox, kind of rolled out all the hits, but with Lundstrom you can tell he's being authentic and he's a good talker, so that carries well. So Lundstrom was good. The big news from Van Bronckhorst's press conference is that Glenn Kamara could miss the game, and that might not seem as big news because he's not played much, but I think he could have played tonight, Derek. We'll come on to talk about the midfield, but I think he'd have given Van Bronckhorst an option like he did last season. Let's not forget, it was Kamara that scored those 2 goals against Leipzig, playing that kind of higher role up the pitch. Scored the 1 goal and played a big part in the first goal against Leipzig in the semi-final win. So that was a big news from that. And Klopp, naturally, the majority of Liverpool's focus is on this game to a degree, but it's also an inquest into their league form. They're 14 points behind after 9 games. They're not in a good place at all. And I was writing, I think it was on the website yesterday, I think the most damaging part of a run like this, you remember Steven Gerrard in his second season, is the repetition of it. They need to repeat the same things, because even if problems take a while to iron out, people get tired of hearing about them. They get tired of hearing the same excuses about them. But kind of gave the classic looking forward to experiencing the Ibrox atmosphere. The big thing for Liverpool, though, is there because they're without Matip, Alexander-Arnold and Diaz from last week. Andy Robertson is back in the squad, but Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Curtis Jones, who are all midfielders, are not. So I think Liverpool might go for that kind of 4-2-3-1 with 4 forwards again tonight, and I think that may well inform if Van Bronckhorst does opt for a similar setup to what he played against Napoli, which is a back 5, which can be aggressive because it can allow James Tavernier to push really high up the pitch. But yeah, I do expect probably Liverpool to start with those 4 forwards again.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure Trent Alexander-Arnold being out is entirely a bad thing for Liverpool. He's having a real horror show of a season just now. I was kind of hoping he'd be playing. I know he scored that free kick, but defensively, he is all over the shop. So it'll be interesting to see who they'll play there. They had Kanate come in there at the weekend against Arsenal. But listen, Joshua, defensively, we all know they've got superstars in their team, world-class talents, but they are devoid of belief and confidence at the moment. Jurgen Klopp's already written off the title. It looks like that they're having a bit of a hangover from last season, going for the quadruple. It's understandable. It's happened to Rangers before, if you remember. as well. But I just think Rangers are getting them at just the right time, and they've got Manchester City the weekend as well. So you've got to factor that in as well. I just want to see Rangers have a go tonight. I don't think they laid a glove in Liverpool at Anfield last week, but at Ibrox with the crowd behind them, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did hint at that. He wants that fast start. He wants to get the crowd enthused early on and have a right go.
And I think they will. Against Napoli, they did. Obviously, and another interesting point Van Bronckhorst made was, you look at the Liverpool-Arsenal game, I think what he was keen to stress is having a fast start and being aggressive doesn't just mean running without control. Because if you do that against, let's remember, a team who remain one of the best teams in the world, in spite of the fact that they are having a tricky stage, you're still up against Salah, Jota, Firmino and Nunez tonight. Nunez, who's cost, the best part of 100 million. Everyone remember him when he played against, came on and scored. He scored the equaliser for Benfica that night, didn't he? I think in the 3-3 game. Could be wrong with that. So it's about being more aggressive, maybe being higher up the pitch, going man for man more aggressively at points. Because as we've said a few times on these videos in the last few days, Derek, I think that suits when Rangers are playing at home. And they're being aggressive. I think that man for man style is far better suited to when they're sitting deeper, and I think that's why you've seen kind of performances against Braga, Union, Liverpool, even Red Star to a degree, where it's a bit, there's not much there in that performance, not much chance creation. They don't look that solid. It's kind of a case of, although against Liverpool, obviously they conceded from 2 set-piece goals. I don't think they were ever really in the game until late on. And I forgot what you put to me initially because I went off in one of my rambles. But review, but we can come back around in full circle. That's the beauty of the show.
Trent being out is a good thing, I think.
Yes, but
the guy's having a terrible season.
But equally, I thought he did going forward. He had a good game last midweek. Played a lot of those passes from deep. As I say, I do kind of think the Rangers might go with a back five also, because who are they going to play at number 10? Malik Tillman didn't have a good night last week. I think he would be better in his more natural position at number 10 in a front foot game. He has had a few difficult games, and he obviously still is a young player adapting to Scottish football and Rangers and all its demands. That is true. It's also true that he was brilliant in Rangers' second leg against PSV. He was really influential as they came back to win against Union. He showed in a few early league games what quality he has. So that this kind of writing off of him as just this young naive player who's never going to make it at Ibrox, I don't think that helps, because I think it kind of forgets what the early promise that was shown. But then, do you throw him into a game? I totally agree with the point of view. Do you throw him into a game that's going to be this fast? Then who else you play in that position? I can understand Scott Arfield, of course, because he played there against Napoli. He's also played 90 minutes of the weekend, Derek. I think he's going to give you a hard work and graft and all these things. You know that you'll get that when you put him in the team. But there's also limitations to his game that you might get by playing another player in that position. That's why I thought could be Kamara as that third central midfielder, as I say, because he did that under Van Bronckhorst last season. Maybe it will be, though. Rangers will play that back five to match up with Liverpool's 4 forwards, then go with a 2 in the middle, because Liverpool will only play 2 in the middle, and then go for that 3 up front. And Čolak and Morelos, you're right, it's an interesting debate, but the more I think I've thought about it and talked about it to people, I think it has to be Čolak. I don't see any other way that you can drop a player who's already scored 13 goals. Despite the fact Morelos is your all-time record European goal scorer, none of those goals have come this season. And Čolak has got 13 of them in comparison. So I think you have to start him.
Yeah, we'll talk about lineups in greater detail. A lot of comments coming about the possibility of a back five. I know you're a fan of it, Joshua. I don't think they can do that tonight. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. But before we get on to our teams, a couple of comments coming in. I love this. Good afternoon, troops, from the big Durian in Jakarta. Last time I was on here, he was in the Congo. So I reckon Rangers are going to get a narrow win tonight, troops.
I like this. This is a nice lifestyle, isn't it?
Absolutely, it certainly is. Yeah. So yeah, great to have you tuning in. Gone Rogue, worldwide show we are every morning, and this is a tremendous comment that's come in as well, Joshua, from Scott Walker. Morning all, tuning in with my newborn son for his first Rangers review live briefing. Got a good feeling about tonight, hoping for a performance in front of a rocking Ibrox. Well, congratulations, Scott.
Yeah, congratulations, Scott.
Yeah, what a momentous occasion. Tuning in to your first Rangers review live briefing. Hopefully he watches many more as well alongside yourself, Scott, and hopefully he's watching great Rangers sides through his lifetime. But congratulations, and fingers crossed that we can get a positive result this evening as well. Right, let's touch on Richard F says in terms of the start, Joshua, and that fast start, as I mentioned, Richard F says a Leipzig start, 2 up in 20 minutes. That will do nicely, would it not?
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's on the back five conversation. I don't think it's a case of saying, that one more defender, so that's negative. If Liverpool play forward, 4-4 forwards, play 4 forwards. What do you do?
For you to say.
Because if let's say hypothetically Liverpool do come and play 4 forwards tonight, I'm not going to say that again. four strikers up top.
Yeah.
You need Rangers. One of the best attacking weapons at home is James Tavernier in the box in Europe when he's playing into space. So you've got to get him high. If he's having to track a winger the whole game, he's not going to be able to play high because he's going to have to stay deep. If there's not 3 defenders across the back to do that, you're going to have Ryan Jack drop in. Which maybe in turn means that Liverpool have a 2 of you on the middle, so you bring your number 10 back. So it becomes a back 5 anyway. It just becomes a back 5 without players in their usual positions. You can still be aggressive in that shape. Rangers at home to Leipzig, they played a back 5. It was Lundstrom. I can't remember. It was Lundstrom did step into midfield at points, but largely they played a back 5 and they got James Tavernier high. They're able to get Ryan Kent high. Glenn Kamara played that strange number 10 role with his back to goal, which worked amazingly well. And Van Bronckhorst time and again has shown an ability to not only in the second leg of European ties improve his team's performance, but also look at opposition weaknesses and kind of tailor what his team is doing to that, which has its plus sides in Europe's and its negative sides sometimes domestically for me. And aside from all the fact that Liverpool are in a bad moment, whatever, that was the same case last week when everyone kind of said this might be a good time to catch Liverpool. I understand it's totally different at Ibrox, but I just still think that you can't discard the fact that you're coming up against likely a strike force of Jota, Salah, Nunez, and Firmino in there, who were a few ref decisions or whatever away from winning at the Emirates instead of losing, and that's what Klopp said. It's not a case though of if they were to win it, all the problems would have gone to away. There definitely has weaknesses. Rangers definitely, of course, can win this, and Rangers have had these type of games at Ibrox so often. Dortmund and Leipzig in particular, where teams with much greater resources have come and they've managed to beat them. So I think they should absolutely be confident about it. But I think it's also important to state that if it is a back 5 tonight, I don't, in my opinion anyway, that's not negative. I think you do obviously have to consider the fact that Liverpool's front 4 has cost a little bit to put together.
Yeah, it has. But like John Lundstrom says, Joshua, I think it's no respect. I think it was the key phrase that came out, and Rangers really need to go out there and give it a right good go. I think I felt that many supporters felt last week that they were resigned to their fate before the match had begun. So I want to see a brave Rangers side this evening. In terms of some of the questions coming in here, Andrew Gill agrees with you, Josh. Says, I'm not sure this is a nice way of putting it, but he says, thank you, Josh. Same clowns wanting fullbacks to play on the wing. So he's happy about you educating us in the tactical side of things. In terms of the team then, we've both gone with Alan McGregor. I think he's come back in, Josh, and he looks... he just looks magnificent, hasn't he? I mean, another terrific save at the weekend. He kept the score down last week at Anfield. He just loves these occasions, doesn't he? And we're not having that debate now. John McLaughlin or Alan McGregor has been shelved.
Yeah, no, I mean, for the time being, obviously, you never know what's going to happen with the Rangers' goalkeeping position. as the last couple of seasons have shown. But he definitely plays. I don't think there's any debate about that. He's a certainty. Are we going to go back to front, or you just want me to kind of start?
No, we'll go back to front. Well, we've got that. First of all, I love these comments coming in. Folk travelling up from all over the place to go to the game. Devon is, I mean, it's about four and a bit hours away from where I live in Warrington. So God knows how long that's going to take you to get up there. But that's what it means to follow Rangers. And this comment from Alan McInnes is a beauty. Away to Ibrox today with my son to watch the Gers v Liverpool in the Champions League. Wow, after what we've been through, that's good enough for me. It is important to take stock. I think I've seen Alan McCoist. Brilliant little segment with Kenny Dalglish on BT Sport. I'm not so sure if you've seen it, Joshua.
Yeah, it's good. Very good.
He talks about it, saying it wasn't so long ago that it was trips to Peterhead and Alloa and all that sort of malarkey, and now it's Liverpool in the Champions League. It is absolutely magnificent. So that I've went with a back four. In fact, we'll stick I'll stick the link into our teams in the comment section, folks. But I went with a back four with Leon King dropping out from last week. Joshua, would you be inclined to would you be surprised to see Leon King perhaps start tonight?
Well, I went for a back four in my predicted lineups yesterday and a back five today, so that tells you how indecisive I am.
Yeah,
so don't take a word I say too little. But I was just thinking about it more. I can see the benefits as I've just laid out. Equally, I can see the benefits of going for a back four, maybe if they go for a more conservative midfield three. Leon King, I don't think you'd have any reservations about him playing tonight based on what he did last week. I know he gave away that penalty, but 18 years old to make your first Champions League start. He's featured in every Champions League game so far because he came on 3-0 down away against Ajax, which isn't a difficult situation to come into. And he came down when Rangers were down to 10 men against Napoli. So it shows you how much the manager trusts him as an 18-year-old to put him in when they're 3-0 down, put him in when they're down to 10 men. I think it was down when they're down to 10 men, correct me if I'm wrong. And then put him in for his full Champions League debut at Anfield. But I'm gonna, maybe I should stick to what I've put in the piece there. That probably corroborates more with that. And in the piece I've went for the back four, Tav, Goldson, Davies and Barisic. As I say, maybe thinking now, maybe I didn't include King in there just to allow Tavernier to play as high as possible. Get that customary back post goal that Rangers seem to always score in European games at home.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've went for the back four that we've seen recently: McGregor, Tavernier, Goldson, Davis, and Barisic. The midfield, Joshua. John Lundstram starts, of course. He's one of the first names in the team sheet. Ryan Jack alongside him.
Yeah, I mean, again, it very much depends on what Rangers do. Last game, it was John Lundstram. No, it wasn't John Lundstram. It was Stephen Davis, and then Ryan Jack and Scott Arfield as kind of number 8s, and Van Bronckhorst went back to pick a very experienced team with no summer signings, if my memory is correct. And James Tavernier played a bit of a strange role where he was a wing back, but he wasn't quite a wing back. If you look at his position, they were trying to keep him high up the pitch, but that I think it worked for a time until obviously Rangers were exposed for that goal. Got to be Ryan Jack in there next to John Lundstram. As I say, I think it might well have been Glenn Kamara. Do you trust Malik Tillman in there? I don't know if Rangers will tonight, based on last week, based on the fact that he hasn't played. Obviously, he didn't even come on at the weekend, did he? But that was the case the week before when he didn't start away at Tynecastle and was thrown in for Anfield away. So unless they've learned something from that game and they really have looked at his performance and thought there's no chance that he's playing in the home game. But yeah, so it's 50-50 with him. Don't know if he will play. Again, it depends on the shape. But Lundstram and Jack, I think, is a certainty in there.
Yeah, I just want to deviate slightly because this comment came in from Ian. Good comment from Ian. This is it true that Leon King has been scouted by clubs down south? This was a report yesterday, Joshua, that Newcastle, Leeds, and Man United are keeping tabs on Leon King. It's not a surprise to me. I know but before he signed that contract extension, there was interest in him down south, and Rangers were did well to get him tied up on a longer term deal. I believe it's until 2025. I may be mistaken there, but it's no surprise. I think eventually he's going to head down south. Do you reckon?
I mean, the funny thing about these reports is because Ian's right to raise it, is that I'm sure all these clubs are scouting, so many different players, and until we actually put a bid in, how much does it matter?
Yeah,
I'm sure what it confirms is that people will have been watching Leon King and then seen in this last couple of months, again, as we wrote about it, the circumstances I've just mentioned that he's come into 3-0 down, 10 men at home, Anfield debut. You don't throw an 18-year-old into there in defence where he could be exposed. It's not as if he's a striker where he's the last line before a goal or a potential mistake. I think that shows you how highly his manager rates him. We spoke about his recovery pace, which I think is pretty impressive. His comfort on the ball. He's actually also made. I was looking at this yesterday. The ball he played for, I think it was Cholak's goal, the third on Saturday. It starts with that King diagonal over to switch play, which might be a little thing, but it was the same against Ross County as well. Starts by switching the play and stretching it and getting Rangers out over pressure. So I think that's just maybe even shows his impact from the bench has been a positive one domestically. So I don't think it's going to come as any surprise that he's been watched by big clubs, but his contract, he signed a new contract at the start of this year with Rangers, didn't he? And that looks to have been a very good move based on how he's settled into the first team.
Yeah, and before we continue, I just wanted to touch on this comment as well from Kenny. He said, good news that Lowry is nearly ready. Yeah, we asked Dave McCallum this earlier on. And just a reminder, folks, that under-19 Youth League match taking place with Liverpool at Firhill this afternoon. Josh, is it 1 p.m. the kick-off for that one?
3 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't get there at 1 because you'll be waiting a lot. I would just double-check that, but I'm pretty sure it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. So, yeah, I'm going along, hopefully see lots of other people there because the last game against Napoli was brilliant. Rangers had a really difficult game away at Liverpool last week. It was, it's 3 p.m. It was, the levels were pretty clear. I'm sure they'll be motivated to put on a far better performance. And speaking to a few people last week, I think that's all sometimes part of the challenges that are put to these young players. They've got to go through these experiences of having difficult defeats, something that they won't have faced playing a level like Liverpool. They won't have faced that much before, and then turning it around quickly to try and put on a more convincing showing at home. What I can say, Derek, is the pitch at the Liverpool training centre was up close. It looked like the best pitch I've ever seen. Yeah. It was a carpet. So Firhill might be a bit more eye-opening for the Liverpool players coming up the road today.
Yeah, Andy says at 3 p.m. the match. I believe it is on is it on Rangers TV, the game. I'm not entirely sure, folks. I'll try and check it out. But yeah, in terms of Alex Lowry, asked Dave McCallum this yesterday. They're conversing with the Rangers first team. He is looking good in training, and they hope that he's back pretty soon, but today comes too soon for him. I asked him if he might feature today, but the match is too soon. And Christopher Devoy says it's on BT, so absolutely fantastic. Thanks for this. Thanks for that, Christopher, and letting us know. And it's at Firhill, folks, if you want to head along there and support the young lads. I'm sure they'll very much appreciate it. I spoke to Jack Hartness as well, who asked him about playing in front of crowds like that. And he says it's a chance for them to express themselves. They don't often get big crowds, but against real quality opposition, I'm sure they'll really appreciate you cheering the boys on if you can make it over there. Okay, in terms of that, let's go back to the team tonight. Scott Arfield I've got in my lineup. Joshua, I think you touched on Tillman. I know he played on the right at Anfield, but for me, Scott Arfield, you know what you're going to get with him. You're going to get keeps amount of energy, commitment, desire, and I think Rangers need that. So for me, he gets a nod. Now, the interesting one, and I think most supporters would agree with this, is Fashion Sakala getting the nod on the right-hand side. I'm really hoping that Gio picks him out there, and I'm really excited to see him having a go at this Liverpool defence.
It'd be hard to not play him. There's two sides to the Sakala thing. We put this on in the piece I did at the weekend. There is a reason, obviously, that Van Bronckhorst has not picked him up until this point. And you'd imagine that reason is maybe he isn't the most... we know he's not always been the most polished player, a bit rough around the edges, but obviously I don't think it's any argument anymore. Domestically, that is probably what you need when you're going to have so much of the ball. You need someone to drive at the man take a risk, do something that's uncomfortable for defences instead of just playing the ball around them. Sakala gives you that. Will he give you that positional discipline without the ball? The time I'm thinking of Parkhead last year, the 1-1 draw, that Old Firm game probably sums up Sakala under Van Bronckhorst, where he scores that brilliant goal in the second half, should have won the game probably when he hits the post. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but could have won the game, should we say. But then also should have done better to track his man, when Celtic rotated for the lead up for their first goal. I think that's probably fair enough to say that. Again, it gives you a holistic view of what he's going to give you in a game. But I don't think it's any question whether you start him tonight, because firstly, Derek, who else do you play there? Unless you change your shape maybe, and that, again, with Tavernier and the role he normally plays in Europe, that is a fair enough argument. But I think he deserves it. And certainly in the league, in these type of home games, Motherwell away, remember him at Motherwell away last season, he scored, what was it, 5 goals in 2 games away at Motherwell?
Yeah, he loved playing them, yeah.
Or 4 at least, won that penalty as well. I think he's definitely played his way back into contention. But again, maybe does that impinge on what Tavernier does, pushing high. We've seen him come in field at the weekend against St Mirren. I don't know if that'll happen tonight against Liverpool.
Yeah, and some interesting comments coming. I mean, it's all about opinions, folks, as ever. Jim McCarroll doesn't agree. Good friend of the show says, Derek, you're doing quite well there until you picked Arfield. Not for me. Makes good runs, but always plays a safe pass and not skillful enough, in my opinion. Listen, I know he's not the Scott Arfield that joined Rangers. Of course, he's now getting on a bit, but he's still, for me, he gets a nod over Tillman. Who knows what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is going to select tonight, but I just hope that whoever takes to that field this evening is on top of their game. That they're going to need every player playing at their top level if they're going to take something from it. And I think we're in terms of, before we talk about the strike, I think we're both in agreement that Cholak gets a nod, Joshua, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Morelos at some point in the game. Ryan Kent is a player that has sparked debate this season in terms of his form, whether he should be dropped. I know Matondo came in at the weekend to start the game, but I think that's perhaps with one eye on tonight. Rangers really need a big performance from him, don't they?
100%. And against Hearts, he seemed to be getting there. Obviously, Liverpool away. It's harsh to judge him on that performance because the whole team wasn't great. But Kent, he hasn't had his best start to the season. And he's got to that point where, because he's had a few seasons where I think he's always had the goodwill, now he's had a period of time out of form, and I think everything's going to be exacerbated naturally because it's not on the bedrock of him having 4 seasons of brilliant numbers. I think everyone expected him to start hitting those numbers. But I think you've also got to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, look, Liverpool away, hard to judge because no one was brilliant. He could have made a few better decisions. I think probably everyone could in that team. Hearts away, I thought was his best domestic performance in a while. So you have to hope he continues on that form from a couple of weeks ago. Again, I don't see who you really play out there. I don't think Matondo is maybe ready to start in a game of this nature. I'm glad we are not picking. This shows you how difficult Van Bronckhorst's job is, Derek, because between us we've probably picked about 25 players already. But it is all about opinions, isn't it? That's the beauty of football. You're allowed to have it. There's no right or wrong until someone scores a goal tonight.
Yeah, and a happy birthday to McGinley. You can see the comment coming up there. Hopefully it's one that you're celebrating the first 3 points in the Champions League tonight, buddy. And if you're going to the game, then I hope you enjoy it. I love this comment that came in as well from Simple Simon Had a Pie. He says, anyone got anything interesting in to drink for the game? That is what everyone wants to know.
I've had my coffee, my caffeine, so that's about it for me, Derek.
Yeah, and I don't think you can drink on the job at Ibrox as well in the press country. But if you're watching the match, let us know what is your tipple. Stephen Gillespie, he's the tonic for him. He says, no nonsense. Just make sure you're careful and drink responsibly. That is a big message, I think, we need to say. But if Rangers win, then by all means have a few to celebrate. Bloody Marys for Ian. Love a Bloody Mary. Yeah, a fan of a Bloody Mary, Joshua?
That's minging, not for me. Not for me. I don't mind the tonic. Tell you what, in press rooms and in Holland, the Netherlands, after the games against Ajax and PSV, they brought you a beer over, so that's quite different to the Scottish football experience. But no Bloody Marys for me. That's a bit strong. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm partial to a Bloody Mary or two. Good way to start the day if you're on holiday. I think that's a proper holiday drink. Gin and tonic for Dave, he's going for, and B Blair. This is a drink that you only drink at the football. I'm having Bovril at the ground. I think that's a beverage I've never had.
Never
apart from football, Joshua. What's your views on Bovril?
Well, I took my wife to a game last season at some point, and she asked for hot chocolate. Well, I got her hot chocolate, but I gave her my Bovril to taste unknowingly first, and she said it was the worst thing she's ever tasted. So I don't know if people who go, I like Bovril, but I don't know if it's just confirmation bias because I think I have to like Bovril because, do you know what I mean?
On a cold winter's day when you're watching the game, halftime, a pint of Bovril is Champions League cuisine, you'd have to say. It's Michelin star stuff. Gone Rogue says it's a nice lemon tea here in Jakarta, trying to rub it in. And Curry Muncher goes with Bovril, plenty of pepper. Yeah, some folks do put a lot of pepper in there. But yeah, each to their own, as they say. Simple Simon had a pie. Bovril is good, beefy goodness. Absolutely right. So yeah. Ali Quinn said, vegan, there's no Bovril for me. Black coffee, no sugar, please. Enough, thanks. Yep. Whatever your tipple, folks, enjoy it in moderation. And if you're going to the game this evening, then enjoy it. I'll cheer the boys on. I think before we go, Joshua, that the Ibrox crowd, and I see Lundstrom mentioned this as well in the press conference last night. He has mentioned it before. It cannot be underestimated the power that the crowd can have on the outcome of games. It gives the players that extra yard, extra 10%, as Lundstrom has said before. And I think they can have a big role to play tonight. I don't think Liverpool play in quite an atmosphere like that all season. I know that Premier League grounds these days are pretty much tourist affairs. Where you go, not much atmosphere. Where the likes, I think St James's Park is a pretty decent atmosphere when you go there. But Ibrox on a European night is something special, and the crowd certainly have a part to play.
And based on last season and just in general, of course, you should go to the game and be confident in a game. What else is football for if it's not, to go and be enjoyed and be confident that you can go and take a scalp? Obviously, as we've said, Liverpool have a lot of good players. And I think they showed last week that they can put you away quite quickly. But Rangers have a reason with the crowd, with the recent history, with the circumstances to believe that they can go and do something, as should be the case. So looking forward to the B team game as well. Hopefully some positive results to talk about. And I think more than anything, Derek, you want something from this Champions League campaign, a moment, whether it's being able to hold on to that last game against Ajax is a bit of a shootout because, as we've said before, Rangers did so well over so many years in the Europa League. And the Champions League is a step up, but I really believe that they've not been able to really give the best account of themselves so far in the Champions League. And I think that would be a bit of a shame if that were to happen, if that were to be the case. Yes, it's a step up, but if you look at the performances Rangers put on last season in Europe, they've not reached those levels yet this season. So hopefully they can get pretty close to them tonight and make it a really good game against Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. Great comment in there. John Crooks watching all the way from Tasmania, no less. Blows my mind. Folk watching us all over the world, but good to have your company, John. And hopefully your team wins tonight. Before you go, Joshua, score prediction. How's this ending up tonight?
I don't know. I'm gonna say 1-1. Take it into the final day against that. I'm not optimistic enough to go for a win. I hope it. Obviously, that would be a fantastic occasion. And if there is a win, then bring this up with me tomorrow. You're probably going to say 4-2 or 3-0 or something.
I just fancy Rangers. I'm going along with Stephen here. I don't know if it's heart telling the head, but having watched Liverpool a fair bit, and Rangers on European evenings are a different proposition. I think they can do it tonight, but Listen, everyone has to be on their game. Lots of comments. Bob's going for a 3-2. GB's going for a 3-1. Listen, as long as Rangers come away with a positive result and get points on the board, I think everyone will be pretty satisfied with that. And if they can take it into the last game, I know it's dependent on what Ajax do as well, but if they can take it into the last game, then just imagine what Ibrox will be like next month when Ajax come to town. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Joshua will be at the game for us later. We'll have all the reaction. I might be on later as well for when the teams drop. We'll have a little video on what we think of Gio's starting lineup, and we'll have all the reaction from the game as well. If you're heading along, safe travels and enjoy the match, and I hope your team wins. And we'll speak to you a little later.